The only philosophical problem that is truly serious, says Albert Camus, is suicide. To judge whether or not life is really worth the living is to answer philosophy's most fundamental question. Now, I suppose that if we could somehow make a calculation of all the people who had committed suicide, we would find that a very small number, if any, had ever sat down and made a cold, rational calculation of the joys and the pains in life, and then, because the answer was negative, had gone out and thrown it all up. Yet at the same time, when we stop to think of the number of people who do commit suicide for a few reasons, or poor reasons, or no reason, and then on the other hand, the people who will battle with what seems to us unbearable tragedy and cling on to the end and even perhaps say it was good, it was worth it, then we wonder if, after all, the clue to all this doesn't lie in one's philosophical answer to this question of whether or not life itself is worth living. Obviously, our view of suicide will vary greatly according to whether we put it in the religious context or the humanistic one. If we once assume that there is a God and that he has given man a purpose, a place in a universe that has a meaning, then the only attitude one can take logically is a negative one so far as suicide is concerned. But if we take the other point of view, if we assume that there isn't any overall purpose for the universe, then we have a different question. Albert Camus, in his book, The Myth of Sisyphus, puts the question in humanistic terms. I do not know, he says, whether or not this world has a meaning which transcends it. But this I am fully aware of, that if there is a higher meaning, it is not one which it is possible for me to know. And if the meaning is not a human meaning, then how can it be a meaning at all for me? In this case, the leap in question is no longer the leap toward God in faith. It is the literal leap over the precipice toward death. What one encounters, if one assumes that there is no higher meaning, is what existentialist writers have called the absurd. Absurdity is a discrepancy, a gap between man's aspirations and that which he is capable, even at best, of achieving. It is the fact that when man appeals to the universe for meaning, for form, for unity, there is no answer. In The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus has described how we encounter the absurd in our everyday lives. Most of the time we go through without standing apart to ask questions. But suddenly, it may be in the midst of our seeming to be one with our environment, that the stage set, as it were, collapses, and we are left there against a backdrop of nothingness.